While this podcast isn't rated explicit, the content may not be suitable for younger listeners. Welcome to Sex for Saints, the Christian couple's guide to great sex. I am your host, certified sex and marriage coach, Amanda Lauder. This is episode 329, A Different Way to Approach Sex. Welcome to Sex for Saints, a podcast for Christian couples. My goal with this podcast is to help enlighten, educate, and inspire you to understand yourself, your spouse, and your sexuality better. I talk about sex in a way you probably haven't heard before. I'm bold, I'm direct, but I keep everything in line with my strong Christian values. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. How do you approach sex in your relationship? Is it about getting something from your spouse? Wanting to feel loved and desired? Is it about self-sacrificing and giving something you don't want to? Is it a chore? Is it an expression of love? Is it biological, something you feel like you need? What if you've been approaching it all wrong? What if that's the reason why it doesn't feel fulfilling or connecting? What if, even if your intentions are good and you know it will be a good thing for your marriage, the way you approach it doesn't work? Today, I want to talk about a different way to approach sex in your marriage, a more mindful approach that fosters authenticity and self-expression and love and intimacy and connection. So let's start by reflecting on how we approached relationships when we were dating. Now, many of us probably had a goal in mind. How can I shape myself so that I can be liked? We might have even been more focused on what we could do to be attractive to our partner rather than being true to ourselves. For example, you might have gone out of your way to watch a sports game with your partner, even if you didn't enjoy it, just to be liked. You were shaping yourself to meet their expectations rather than being honest about your interests. So if you're still approaching your marriage and sex with the goal of being liked or being attractive to your spouse, it might not be working as well as you'd like and can lead to a number of issues that undermine the quality and the depth of the relationship. So here are some key consequences and examples of how this can manifest. First is a lack of true connection. So when you're focused on being liked or attractive, you end up presenting a version of yourself that isn't entirely authentic. This can prevent a deep, genuine connection from forming because your partner is relating to a facade rather than your true self. So if you're, say, constantly agreeing with your partner's opinions and preferences to avoid conflict or to be liked, over time, you might feel unseen and misunderstood. Now, your partner may think they know you, but they're really interacting with a version of you that you've crafted to be more likable. I have some clients that experience this, and it really rocked their marriage to the core. So in an effort to not rock the boat and to be agreeable, the wife would go along with whatever her husband wanted. She would tell him she was happy, and he believed her. But down the road, she admitted that she had just been pretending. They didn't have a true connection because she wasn't being honest and authentic with him. All right, so lack of true connection is the first thing. The second thing is resentment and burnout. So trying to maintain a facade or constantly striving to meet external expectations can be exhausting. So over time, this can lead to resentment and burnout as you're not honoring your own needs and desires. Now, this is exactly what happened with the previous couple. She had so much resentment and eventually burned out because it wasn't authentic. So if you're always putting your partner's needs first and neglect your own, it makes sense that eventually you'll be filled with resentment, and that creates tension in the relationship. All right, number 3 is inauthentic intimacy. So sexual intimacy can become inauthentic when it's driven by the desire to be attractive or to please your partner rather than mutual enjoyment and connection. And this can lead to a lack of satisfaction and fulfillment in the sexual relationship. For example, if you're engaging in sexual activities that you're not comfortable with and that it doesn't genuinely excite you, you're doing it just to keep your partner happy, it can lead to feelings of discomfort and dissatisfaction. This can also create a disconnect, as your partner might not realize that you're not fully enjoying the experience. All right, number 4 is increased anxiety and insecurity. So when your self-worth is tied to your partner's approval or attraction, it can lead to increased anxiety and insecurity. You might constantly worry about whether you're doing enough to be liked or to be attractive, leading to a lack of confidence and self-esteem. For example, if you're worried about your appearance or whether you're meeting your partner's expectations, you might find yourself feeling anxious and insecure in your relationship. And this can make it difficult to relax and enjoy the connection with your partner. Hey listeners, are you loving the tips and insights from Sex for Saints? Want to apply them to your own life? Join my Embrace You Elite Society membership. In this exclusive membership, you'll get access to personalized coaching, practical tools, and a supportive community of women, all working towards enhancing their intimate lives. Ready to take your intimacy to the next level? Visit amandalauder.com/membership and join today. Let's embrace a more fulfilling and intimate life together. Use the code podcast at checkout to get 50% off your first month. Now back to the show. All right, number 5 is stifling personal growth. So focusing on being liked and attractive can prevent you from exploring and expressing your true self. Now, this can stifle personal growth and prevent you from discovering your authentic desires and passions. For example, if you avoid pursuing your own interests or passions because you're afraid your partner won't approve, you might miss out on opportunities for personal growth and fulfillment. And this can lead to a sense of stagnation and unfulfilled potential. So I was actually just having breakfast with a friend of mine, and she and her husband are going through a hard time. And part of this is that for, their 20-year marriage, he kind of just went along with everything, and she went along with everything that he was doing. And they both kind of stifled in their personal growth because it was just about sweeping things under the rug and not rocking the boat and, showing up in a way that doesn't cause conflict and not being authentic to who they are. And so now they're both on this personal growth journey where they're trying to actually discover themselves and who they are. And it's hard, right? It's so hard. But their marriage will not survive if they don't do this. All right, number 6 is superficial relationship dynamics. So relationships based on superficial qualities rather than on genuine connection and compatibility can feel shallow and unsatisfying. And this can prevent the relationship from developing a deeper, more meaningful bond. For example, if your relationship is built on physical attraction or the need for approval rather than on shared values and genuine connection, it might struggle to withstand challenges or grow over time. You might find that you don't have a strong foundation to rely on during those tough times. Okay, so now that we know the problems, right, how do we move towards more authenticity in the relationship? So in order to approach marriage and sex more honestly, I think it's important to shift to this more mindful approach. I want you to ask yourself, who am I? How can I show up in my marriage from a place of authenticity, real self-expression, giving love, and honesty? This is about bringing your true self into your relationship and connecting with your partner on a deeper level. So going back to our original example of watching a sports game, even though you could care less, right? Instead of pretending to enjoy sports, you might express that you don't enjoy it, but would love to find a common interest or hobby to share. And this fosters genuine connection and allows both partners to be themselves. So next, let's talk about clarifying your vision. It's crucial to clarify your vision of what you want for yourself. Who do you want to be in your marriage and in your sexual relationship? How do you want to show up? What does that look like long term? What does it look like day to day? Think about your reasons for this. Your why for doing this has to be bigger than your why not. For example, you might decide that you want to be a spouse who supports your partner's career and personal growth. This means showing up every day with encouragement and being a source of strength rather than competing or feeling threatened by their success or, wishing that they would just go back to the way things were. Okay. I think it's really important to separate out the shoulds. What have you been told you should want or who you should be in your family, in church, and in society? Because let's be honest, we've all heard these messages, but they may not align for our true selves. So clarifying this for yourself is really important. To foster a healthier, more fulfilling relationship, it's important you shift your focus from being liked and attractive to being authentic and true to yourself. So here are some steps to take to help clarify that vision. Number 1 is self-reflection. So take time to understand who you are and what you truly want in a relationship. Reflect on your values, your interests and desires. What do you bring to the table? What do you offer? I'm sure it's amazing, right? But take a moment to really write a list. For example, you might offer kindness and patience, a sense of humor, or a listening ear. How can you make someone else's life better? Aligning your integrity means acting in ways that reflect your true values and principles. Number 2 is honest communication. Share your true thoughts and feelings with your partner. Be willing to share these even in the face of invalidation. You aren't sharing this to get their approval, but because you're being honest with them about who you are. This can help build a deeper connection and foster mutual understanding. Number 3 is to set boundaries. Learn to say no and set boundaries that honor your needs and your well-being. Don't do things that you truly don't want to do to manage your spouse. This can help prevent burnout and resentment. Number 4 is to seek mutual enjoyment. So focus on mutual enjoyment and connection in your sexual relationship. Communicate openly about your desires and listen to your partners as well. And number 5 is to build self-worth. Working on building your self-worth and confidence independent of your partner's approval, and engage in activities that make you feel good about yourself and reinforce your value. For example, let's say you love dancing, but your partner's just not interested. So instead of giving up on dancing to spend more time with your partner, you might continue to take dance lessons and share your experiences with your partner. This allows you to stay true to yourself while also inviting your partner into your world in an authentic way. I wanted to take a quick break from our conversation to share something really exciting. I'm thrilled to announce my Uplevel Couples Retreat happening in Las Vegas from September 11th to 14th, 2024. This isn't just any retreat. It's an exclusive experience designed for couples ready to deepen their connection and elevate their relationship to new heights. We're keeping it intimate with only a few select couples joining us, so you'll get plenty of personalized attention and transformative experiences. Curious to learn more and see if this retreat is the right fit for you and your partner? Head over to uplevelcouplesretreat.com for all the details and to apply. Don't miss this chance to invest in your relationship and create unforgettable memories together. Now let's get back to our discussion. So this brings us to the law of love. So former football star Steve Young wrote a great book on the subject. I'd like to read you just a small excerpt from that book that I think applies here. He said, God had to write down the 10 Commandments in the second set of stone tablets because the children of Israel were not ready to live the higher law. But it was never meant to stay that way. The carnal commandments were God's temporary plan. That's the lower law, the preparatory path. If the children of Israel had been ready to live the higher law of love on the finishing path, God wouldn't have had to tell them not to kill people. They already would have known not to kill people. God wouldn't have had to tell them not to steal. They already would have known not to steal or covet or cheat on their spouses. God draws us in on the transactional track because it's foundational, preparatory. Whenever we are ready, God pulls us toward the finishing track to attain the full measure of our creation, not just to grow and improve incrementally by staying on the preparatory or transactional track, but breaking through to a brighter new reality. The law of love is a superior extension or higher level of the law of obedience, not in opposition to it. It draws obedience and all laws to it with a gravitational pull as a loving invitation leading us to the next step on the finishing. Close quote. So in the early stages of relationships, we may not be ready to live the higher law. It's more transactional. Our relationships are more transactional. And many people never move beyond that. But in order to have a more loving and authentic marriage, we need to move from the transactional to a more loving way, a higher way. When faced with any situation in your marriage, ask yourself, what does love look like here? What does love call for? Am I giving love freely without expecting something in return? Or am I more focused on whether or not my partner is loving me? Imagine your spouse has had a tough day with the kids. The transactional approach might lead you to think, if I comfort them, maybe they'll be in a better mood and we can have sex tonight. But the mindful, loving approach asks, what does love look like in this situation? Maybe it means just being there for them, offering a listening ear, and not expecting anything in return. This is giving love freely. This is the higher law. So, how can we transform our sexual relationships with this information? Imagine approaching sex not as a transaction, but as an opportunity to connect deeply with your spouse. When you bring your authentic self to the relationship, it fosters a safe space for both you and your partner to be vulnerable and honest. This can lead to a more fulfilling and intimate sexual relationship. So if you've always felt pressured to initiate sex because you think it's expected of you, shifting to a mindset of how can I express love and intimacy genuinely can change the dynamic. Maybe instead of initiating sex out of obligation, you find joy in small, intimate gestures that build connection throughout the day, leading to a more meaningful and enjoyable, intimate experience when it does happen. So taking a mindful approach to your marriage and sexual relationship means focusing on authenticity, love, and self-expression. It involves asking the right questions, clarifying your vision, and building a positive self-concept. By doing this, you can transform not only your sexual relationship, but also the overall dynamic of your marriage. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this episode has given you some new insights and practical steps to take. Remember, love is a journey, not a destination. Stay committed, stay passionate, and stay connected. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Like what you're hearing on this podcast? Make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Don't forget to leave me a review and share it with your friends.